Alright, here's a story. I lost part of this video, but basically, Brooke and I were like hanging out in the living room playing games, and she fell asleep on the couch, and I went into my room, and that's all that was left out. Also, shout out to Titanic. My heart will go on. Like an hour or so later, I could hear her walking to her room, but then I guess she got nauseous and tried to go into her shower. So I'm sitting on my bed and I hear like banging. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, and I listen and I don't hear anything. Like a minute later, I hear the banging again. And then I hear her yelling for me. She's like, Bobby, Bobby. So like run in there and she's literally on the ground. As I like look and there's literally blood all over her shower, like all over her head, like dripping down her face, and I was like, "Oh my god." And so I'm like looking at it, it's bloody and there's a huge just open gash. Just a huge open gash in her fucking head. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I have to call 911." Like I have to call 911. So I called 911 and I tell them to come and we're on the phone with them and he's like, just keep it compressed, like try to stop the bleeding as much as you can. She can't drink any water or anything. And I'm like, oh my God, literally freaking the fuck out, obviously. So, hold on. Whew. So, eventually 911 comes, maybe like 15 minutes, and there's like five guys that come in. We like try to get her out of the shower and the guy literally stands her on her feet and I'm like, what the fuck? And so she walks out to the living room and we're like, she's sitting on the ground, like she does not want to like stand, like she can't. And they literally, these guys told us that she looked fine and that because it stopped bleeding it was fine and that she probably didn't need to go to the hospital. I'm sitting there like I saw an open gash on her head. I was like, there's an open gash. There's an open gash in her head, like I just saw it. And they literally like couldn't find it on her head. And I was like trying to find it to show them and like you don't want to like rub it too much. I'm like, okay. And so they're basically just like sitting there laughing at us. Like just like, girl, like yeah, like if you want to go to the hospital you can, but like it looks like it you just fell and it's fine, like it's not bleeding. And so we're like, okay. And Brooke's like, what would like be the criteria of me going to the hospital? And they were like, if you like had a seizure, you passed out or something. And I'm just literally like, okay. So they gaslit us and then they left. And then so like Brooke's laying on the ground. So I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna like wash the blood out of your hair. So I like get a cup of water and like a towel on the floor and I'm like washing it out. Then I see the gash again. I'm obviously not gonna put it in here, but the gash is like this big and like deep as fuck in her head. So I'm like, Brooke, Brooke, we need to go to the emergency room like right now. So, um, she didn't want to walk down the stairs, so I pulled her in my wagon that I use for my DJ equipment and took her down in the elevator and like wheeled her outside and then like walked her to my car. We go to the ER, couldn't find the entrance, literally pulled in where like the emergency vehicles go and this cop was like honking at us and we're like, please help us. And so we finally got in there. Um, the people at the emergency room at UC were like amazing. The one guy that checked us in was literally like that TikTok guy. I was like, my roommate fell, and he goes, roommate fell? Great. Okay. So what's her name? Oh, okay. And but it was so funny. He was so sweet, and then everyone that helped us was so nice. The doctor was so cute, and like we honestly had a great time at the emergency room. We walked right in, and Brooke was like, "This is so nice in here." I'm like, "We're not at a bed and breakfast, babe." Mind you, this is like 4 in the morning when we got there, literally 4 a.m. So, I mean, she was conscious the whole time. She, like she was definitely like out of it a little bit, but like she was awake. She never passed out. There were no signs of concussion or anything like that. So we just waited a little bit and they stapled her up and like it was gnarly to watch. I was like sitting with her obviously and it was a gash, dude. She fucked her head up so bad. But luckily, she wasn't in very much pain. She couldn't really feel it, probably because she was like in shock. And she feels okay today. But we were at the emergency room until 7 a.m. She got 4 staples in her head. And it was like, talk about a bad trip. Should have had a V8. Obviously, it was nothing like to take care of her. Like, I would do that for any of my friends, and they would do the same for me. We did have a great time at the ER, unfortunately. It was just good vibes, I will say it. Everyone was so nice, and they like loved us. But she's okay, and all is well. It was just literally terrifying. There was blood all over my hands. It looked like a murder scene. Oh, the second that the what are they called? The paramedics. The second the paramedics left, I ran into the bathroom and hurled everywhere. I was just like panicking and like it was a lot. But we're okay. And everything's okay. And the moral of the story is never gonna post this, obviously, but I just needed to do it for my own records. Love you all. Stay slutty.